So Nate, something incredible happened today. Finally, we've been waiting years for it. Biorhythm has been unbanned. Dude, I'm going to put this in every freaking deck, is what I would have said if Biorhythm was a good card. Let's check out that and Lutri and go over the banned and restricted list for EDH.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great place to start. So we had the Commander ban and unban announcement today. There was a lot of speculation around this. There was a lot of talk online. Oh my God. I saw TikToks, YouTube videos, whole 9 yards talking about this stuff. There was talks of Rhystic Study being banned. There was talks of Thassa's Oracle being banned. Some people even speculated that Smothering Tide would be banned, even though it really wasn't talked about too much.
Nah.
There was some other considerations, let's just say, for unbans as well. A lot of speculation on whether or not they'd bring Jeweled Lotus back, or whether or not... now, if you want my personal opinion on that, I think eventually they might give us something like Jeweled Lotus back.
I hope so.
Potentially. But that's not really what we're here to talk about today. Not really our opinions on what we think should be unbanned and banned currently. But we'll touch on the ones that were kind of speculated on here in a little bit. So number one on the list of what we were talking about today are the two major unbans that happened in Commander today. And first up on the list is Biorhythm.
Yep.
So for anyone who doesn't know what Biorhythm does, Biorhythm is a 6 generic and 2 green sorcery that makes each player's life total become the number of creatures he or she controls. Chris, what's kind of your take on this card before bans and now that it's unbanned?
I think we talked about it a couple months ago when we were talking about potential bans and unbans at one point in time during the Dockside banning. And this thing doesn't really do anything. If it says I win, or if it's an engine, or if it gives you some advantage, I could definitely see this seeing some play in casual for sure. And I could see it. Cool. Make everyone's life total 1, swing in with your 3 flyers at the 2 other people or whatever. Cool. Win the game. It's possible. It doesn't win the game. And that's kind of the reason why I'm like, I don't 8 mana. That's a Gulta. You know what I mean? That's a big dinosaur that I'd much rather be playing in my 99. So that's why it's almost like, I don't know. I mean, I could see it in like a Tali, but like I don't want to top deck a Tali when I'm like, okay, I just need another copy effect. It'd be kind of dead. It's cute, but it doesn't make anything synergistic more. It in CDH, I just don't know. I don't know where you put it.
Sure. I think on the competitive side of things, I don't know if Biorhythm will see play. Maybe in some niche corner case creature-based decks, they decide to play Biorhythm. That's like, maybe it's a creature control-based style of deck for some, people. But I think at the end of the day, the fact that this is, not only is this 8 mana, it's also sorcery speed. Like, so you can't even attempt to do it at instant speed. Well, I suppose you could with Born Upon the Wind, things like that. You look like you got a thought.
So what is Biorhythm? Do you want to read off the text? Or do you want me to read off the text?
I read it.
Each player's life total becomes the number of creature he or she controls. Okay, yeah. Cool. Just in case.
Yeah,
okay, cool. If it wasn't read off, we're definitely read off now. So, I mean, it just... I don't like it. It doesn't do anything whatsoever as far as a card. Banning, unbanning. I don't know why it was banned to begin with. So I'm happy that it's unbanned.
Yeah, exactly. I think at the end of the day, this is totally a completely justified unban. There's so many things nowadays that answer it. Besides just your standard counter spells, there are just a lot of things that that stop Biorhythm. I just don't think that this was something that was going to stay on the ban list for a very long period of time. I do think people are maybe overhyping it a little bit. Checking TCG, I think it went from about $3 and it is currently sitting at about 37, 38 market price.
Ooh, I saw it at 50 earlier, so it might have come down a little bit.
Oh, it might come down a little bit. I do think it's a bit overhyped. I will say that for sure. But I do think that is a completely fair unban. Much like, so referring to Gavin Verhey's like actual announcement on it, he brings up the fact that like Worldfire was unbanned, Sway of the Stars was unbanned, Coalition Victory was unbanned, and none of these have been causing problems.
And those say I win the game. And those say I win the game.
Coalition at least.
Yeah.
Coalition doesn't say that, sure. But they kind of felt the same way about Biorhythm. They're like, well, it's this big, very high mana cost thing, and if the other ones are doing just fine and no one's really saying anything about them, this is probably okay too. So as far as an unban in the casual side of things goes, this is totally fine.
Correct.
On the CEDH side of things, this doesn't do anything for us. Like I said, maybe a niche deck decides to pick it up as maybe like a Gaia's Cradle deck that can make a ton of mana. Maybe. I don't know.
There's just better things. There's just better things.
But yeah, there's just a lot more better things that you could be doing with 8 mana. So next up on the list, and I feel like, honestly, this one kind of came out of left field a little bit. There was a lot of speculation on unbans. Biorhythm was a big contender for being unbanned and talked about. I don't think I saw a single video or TikTok or short talking about our next unban. So the next card that was unbanned was Lutri the Spell Chaser. Mm-hmm. Now, specifically, Lutri the Spell Chaser's biggest problem initially was that there was no cost to playing him as the companion. So his companion cost was that each non-land card in your starting deck has a different name.
That's Commander.
So it's kind of a problem, right?
Pretty much.
He was just a slap in the pan of companion. He's a 101st card.
Unless you have 7/7 dwarfs or all the Nazgul or
some exceptions.
Nazgul tribal? Sure. I don't know.
Sure. So Lutri specifically, we'll lead Lutri, is a one generic hybrid elemental otter that has flash. And when Lutri the Spell Chaser enters the battlefield, if you cast it, copy target instant or sorcery spell you control, you may choose new targets for the copy. Now, initially, and I did this too, when you first read this card, you sort of read it like Dualcaster. You sort of read it like Narumeha. And in general, it's actually kind of worse. So the reason being is Lutri specifically says when it enters, if you cast it, you copy the target instant or sorcery spell that is on the stack. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't do combos with this. I can't remember the exact spell. Maybe I can send it to you and maybe for like a quick edit just to throw it up. But there is a spell that exiles something that you control, and as long as it remains in exile, you can cast it for free.
Okay.
And so technically you can loop these infinitely over and over again. Now you're feeding Rhystic Studies, for infinite cards essentially, so you could be stopped in that sense. But I'm not sure how I feel about Lutri. When I initially read Lutri, I kind of read it as a Dualcaster Mage or a Narumeha sort of effect that when it ETBs, it just doesn't think. But with the fact that you specifically have to cast it,
sure,
I don't know where this is going to see.
So you can't flicker it. That doesn't do anything.
No.
Where Spellcaster you can.
Yes.
Okay.
Dualcaster, Narumeha, they only care about the ETB.
There's the very, very niche. Even now, you don't see those play anywhere. So now you have a legendary 3/2 Otter. I'm just saying, it's an Otter. That when they said that, I'm like, ooh, wait, hold on a second. This has some nope, it has no sea legs. Just because it's an Otter doesn't really mean too much. Yeah. We were talking earlier on the phone that you could have like an impact tremor or like a aristocrats kind of effect if you were able to then copy this legend rule over and over and over again with like the Dualcaster Mage kind of effect. But that's like a third piece and probably in a Grixis pie. You were saying that you might even consider brewing this just for fun, because I mean it's a fun Izzet deck. Like, how would you? It would just be a really good engine. It'd be a fork essentially in the command zone for 3.
Yeah, and you could also there's also just a good amount of just talking about like how there are very impactful spells, in the commander format, and say someone Jessica's wills on their turn. Well, you could flash in your Lutri and you also get both effects of a Jessica's Will immediately, right? Things like small things like that, right? It's going to be a little bit more. Release to the Wind, by the way, is the card that exile target non-land permanent. For as long as that card remains exiled, you can cast it without paying a cost.
Okay.
So it has little fun synergies. I do think that I might just build something. I just like to build stuff. And since Lutri is new, it's like, screw it. That's fun.
To take it down the next tournament with Lutri.
Oh, right. Do I actually think that this is going to impact the CEDH side of things? Absolutely not.
No.
It feels a lot like Biorhythm. I think in some niche decks, I think it will see play. Decks that want to copy instants and sorcery a lot, Krokus Sakashima, for instance. Again, decks that don't really see a ton of play right now just because of the meta. But I don't think it will not see any play. I think it will see a little bit. I don't know if it'll see it necessarily as the commander. I just don't think it offers enough as the commander itself just to do that one kind of effect. And then in order to get the effect again, you have to like get it back to hand and then recast it. I don't think it's impactful enough for that.
Sure.
But I think it's some niche Izzet decks, possibly Grixis decks. In the 99, he could be a potential thing to copy your instants and sorceries, because specifically to copy instants and sorceries, he is a creature that's doing it, which is a harder thing to kill. But I don't know. I think even in the companion zone, I'm not sure.
I'm thinking the same thing.
All that.
Pay 3 mana, draw a card that pitches to Force of Will.
Right. Yeah.
In our format, in the broader EDH format, I could definitely see someone feeling bad. Hey, I'm going to cast my thing that gives everything overrun and +8. I don't even know if there's something like that. Cool. I'm going to do the same, and then I'm going to block all your guys, and that.
Sure.
But that does add a little bit of fun. I mean, I don't think that feels bad. I think that seems fun to me, but I don't know. They came up with their reasons, and I haven't read the reasons why. Do you have it up by chance?
Yeah, I do have it up here. Let me see if I can find like the exact when it's actually talking about it. Because they do talk about the problem with it being a companion, which I do agree. Like, because then it's just a free include no matter what.
So it's an include into everything. Is that really
like literally anything that has the blue-red color identity? Like you could do 5 color and then just have a Lutri as a free card, right? I think that's kind of the problem.
I think it's fun.
I do think it would be fun, but I do kind of understand. Well, I'll read this so that way we kind of understand. Lutri itself is far from too strong of a card in a game of Commander. However, the problem is that if Lutri is legal as a companion, every deck for the rest of time that has the blue-red color identity should have Lutri as a companion.
Sure.
There's absolutely no downside to doing so. We don't want blue-red decks to have access to an extra card in every game of Commander for all of time, and it's not like a color combination that needs the help, which is completely fair.
Okay.
Nor have players who don't have access to Lutri get told they have to play Lutri. It's a really undesirable outcome to add a card that shows up at the level of ambiguity. I fucking said that word wrong, but you know what I mean.
Ambiguity. Gotcha. Okay. No, it makes sense. You don't want the sticker goblin problem where everyone has to have the sticker goblin just because they have to have it. Now it's like, well, you got to have a Lutri. It's like, well, I definitely didn't buy multiple foil Lutris months ago for pennies. They're not going to spike. They're just not going to spike, even though it's legal here. So, no, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense of why they didn't, based on that. They just don't want to make it painful. Not that it would be, yeah. I mean, red doesn't feel great. If this was like a green-black, champion, maybe, you know what I mean? That did something similar. That'd be okay in the Commander format.
Yeah.
So, okay. So just the color, and because they don't want it to have that much more.
And essentially, their Gavin's reasoning behind unbanning it is that it's just really not that powerful. If it's not in the companion zone, just as a free extra 101st card, and that was pretty much the reasoning, which I completely agree.
It's an otter. Okay. We're going to be eating our words in a couple months. Man, we should have seen it. We should have seen it coming. It's everywhere. Oh my god, it's up to $100. Oh, play this or the One Ring. It's like, of course I'm playing this over the One Ring any day. Who even plays the One Ring anymore? That's for another segment, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. I think that kind of goes over it. I mean, it essentially copies a spell if you cast it. So no flickering. You may choose new target, essentially fork. But instead of paying fork, you get a body after it. So it's not a horrible thing if you're running a lot of fork abilities. You're like, cool.
Well, so I will say this as well. There is sort of a nice factor in the fact that Lutri can not only be sacked for Flare of Duplication, but can also be sacked to Flare of Denial.
That's not a bad idea.
Which is kind of nice, right? But again, this is very niche case scenario. Not a lot of decks play both Flare of Dupe and Flare of Denial.
Well, now you can.
Now you can.
At flash speed. Oh, Let's not get into this.
Let's, yeah,
It seems like it does seem like fun, so I'm glad that they unbanned it for sure.
100%. I think in casual games, I think he's going to be great.
I was just expecting so much more than these two things. I think 100% these are good unbans. I think they made a really good decision. I was just expecting maybe because of all the hype or because of the way that they worded it that there would be more than this, that the format would actually change. These two cards do not change the format in any kind of real way. Are you playing the same deck you were playing before? Yep, this doesn't change that. This is not changing anyone's decision to play more Magic, to play less Magic, or to change a deck, or to not change, or not play a deck. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't. Nothing's happened. It doesn't offer any more options to CEDH or really EDH, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would have to say that I agree with that, but I do think that giving us things that were banned and had such a what is the word I'm thinking of? Just this vitriol when it was banned, banning Mana Crypt and Jeweled Lotus and stuff. I think that is hard to give us that stuff back this early, right?
Sure.
Because then it feels like their decisions don't really matter, and they're like, "Oh, sorry about that. Oh, here's your card back." So I kind of get them not wanting to do that right away. And they sort of even talk about how some things were talked about outside of what was, these specific unbans. So I will just go ahead and bring these up now. So one of the ones that was talked about that was potentially to be unbanned was Sundering Titan. Again, Sundering Titan, I'll just read it real quick.
Go for
it's
it.
An 8-mana artifact creature, and when it enters the battlefield or leaves the battlefield, you choose a land of each basic land type and you destroy them. So again, if this is something that was unbanned on the competitive side of things, we wouldn't see this. This would very much be a casual card. But the fact that when it enters or leaves causes a lot of flicker issues.
Yep. Cool. I'm going to play an artifact deck that can flicker stuff, and I'm going to blow up everyone else's stuff, and then I'm going to sit here and laugh for the next 20 minutes while people draw cards, and I continue to flicker. It's like, it feels bad in EDH. I don't really want for the format because, I want people to still play the format, even if I don't play it on the non-competitive side as much as I used to. And that's fine. That's an easy never unban it. Okay.
Well, here's the thing. I think you probably could unban this card.
Really?
The reason I say that is because, and even Gavin says something about it here in the article as well, is that the brackets are set up now where if you're doing mass land denial, that is a reason that pushes you to a different bracket.
Makes sense.
Like immediately. But the problem with doing that is a lot of people don't use the bracket system. So that's why they're just like, maybe we should just leave it where it's at, which is completely justifiable, and I understand it staying. So the next one they talked about was Iona. So for those that don't know Iona Shield of Emeria, I'll read her. It is 6 generic and 3 white for a flying angel, and it says as Iona enters the battlefield, you choose a color, and your opponents can't cast spells of the chosen color.
Now I can't play Magda. Damn it.
Right. You get shut off completely. You can't play Magda because they named red.
Yep. Okay.
So, right.
How much mana is it? 6?
It's 8. Or no, I'm sorry. It's 9. It's 9 mana.
Yeah.
9 mana for this creature.
Okay. In competitive Magic, Reanimate is about the only way you're going to get out anywhere quick, which is normally a good spot for it. It's normally a sideboard in like Legacy back in the day. I don't know if they still play it or not. But okay.
This is one that I understand that on a casual side of things, this is a nightmare, right? You're sitting down, you decide to play your mono blue deck, right? And casuals aren't big on mono blue because most mono blue decks means counterspell.deck.
They need to unban this immediately. That does stop those kind of people. Have you ever seen a mono blue player at a table? Have you ever seen a mono blue player at a table? They just say no the entire time. You're like, you know what? No, I'm going to say no to your no. The thing is, the Ionia is probably not even getting down to begin with. But if it does, then it stops them off and it serves them right. I'm just going to reanimate that really quick with the silence effect. It's like, stop. Now it's a 3B. Now it's a 3. Yeah, you just sit there and enjoy your game. So, I
don't know. This one, for me, I feel like I would be okay unbanning it. Just because I think there's sort of a social rule that like if you see someone that's sitting at your table and you happen to have this card in hand and you know they're a monocolored player, like you're just, for lack of any better term, you're just kind of being a dick if you just shut off their whole deck. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
you're just kind of being rude.
It's a
And
standard.
so I feel like the social contract would just kind of shut off you doing that kind of thing.
You say that, some
But I
people
don't
want the
know.
world to
But
burn.
I don't know.
People want the world to burn.
Well, that is also
If you're going to
very
shut up
fair.
this person, that's fine, but then this person's not going to be shut up whatsoever, and who's going to pull ahead? You or this other person that's not hindered at all, and you just spent 9 mana to cast this angel. It's like, okay, cool.
Right. And I just think that at the end of the day, it's just a feels bad card for the casual side of things. That's literally all it is. It doesn't do anything else. I think on the CDH side of things, I don't think that we would ever see this. Unless Stacks, there was like some weird Stacks reanimator thing that could get that could like cheat this in, and then you're getting down a Painter Servant, and then none of your opponents can play the game anymore. Right? Sure.
But you
But
also but you have Microsynth Lattice. You have Microsynth Lattice and Karn. I mean, you kind of have the same, like, it's a lock. It's a hard lock. Some are soft locks. I mean, that doesn't, listen, scoop your game after you've been playing for 2 hours. Feels really, really bad. It's about the only spot. But otherwise, if that happens early, cool. Painter Servant, reanimate, cool. You all can't do your thing. You know?
But then the biggest downside to that, right, is that, well, a Painter Servant doesn't stop a Boseiju.
No.
Like, I can still Boseiju your Painter Servant. I can still Otawara your Iona. So then there we go. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's off the board and I can go off.
Yep.
So it just, I don't know.
Draw one card. Nope. Pass turn. Draw another card.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have to they're just going to beat you in the face with Iona. I'll get there eventually.
You're both blue and green. I'm swinging at you, Cynic, just so I make sure that you can't draw yours.
So basically, for Iona and Sundering Titan, they're actually going to just do more polls and talking about it, just to ask the general feedback of the community to see if these are okay to be unbanned.
I want to see them.
The last one that they talked about is the one that I'm actually sort of interested in talking. And the one that they brought up was Gristlebrand. Now, for those that have never played with Gristlebrand is 4 generic and 4 black for a legendary creature demon that has flying and lifelink, that you pay 7 life and you draw 7 cards.
You just want him in Keurig. That's literally it.
So
that's literally it. You just want him in Keurig, so you can gain life and beat phase and draw even more cards.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's what you
absolutely want. He play in Keurig, right? Because he's 4 generic mana in a deck like Keurig.
Yeah. Okay.
And like 8 life, which then you're going down really low to draw 7 cards. Right? That's a lot of life to put on. But I think the main thing that I would love to see if they did decide to unban Gristlebrand is to bring back Reanimate. It's an archetype that doesn't really see a lot of play. The only really good like reanimator target right now is like Hoarding Broodlord.
And then unban the other 2 good ones. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Sire, Insanity, no big deal, right? Just we can go crazy with it.
And here's the thing: 8 mana to like, if you have to actually cast this thing, that's a gigantic cost. When you're far enough in the game where you can like, sure, Black
Sneak Attack, dude. Sneak Attack would be awesome. I've always wanted to play Sneak Attack in Commander, and it's just never really there. But I'm just saying, show and tell. Hey, I'm gonna put my Gristlebrand into play. You could put your Thassa's into play. Cool.
Right.
Like
I just genuinely think that like as a card himself, I used to think that like, no, this card could never be unbanned because I thought he was just way too much, right? That is so many cards just to be like, okay, pay 7 life, draw 7. Pay 7 life, draw 7. I'm drawing so many. But it's like, there's a cost to get him into play.
Sure.
Whether that's entomb and reanimate him, or, you have to like get to your point where you end up having to discard him because you end up drawing him accidentally for turn.
Exhume. Sure. Huh.
And it's not like, you can't like unmarked grave Gristlebrand because he's legendary, right? You have to use very specific ways to put him into the graveyard.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to full cast this dude, that's a lot of mana to get him onto the battlefield. And so that late in the game, chances are you've probably taken quite a bit of freaking damage, right?
Kalia. You could play Kalia the Vast.
Yeah. Kalia could see play again, right? And that's pretty sweet, actually. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Huh.
And so it was an interesting topic And I hadn't really thought about it until they brought it up that I was like, you know what? Actually, this might be okay to come off the ban list.
The casuals, the casuals in the comments are freaking out. Could you imagine sitting down at your first F and M and you see this with your with your pre-con? You're like, okay, cool. You know what? Screw this. I'm going back to Call of Duty. I'm going back to Call of Duty.
But here's the thing, though, right?
Yeah.
If someone sits down at your pod and this is their commander, you're like, cool. I'm hating you every chance I get. I'm not going to give you a ton of extra cards. I'm not going to give you all of this extra stuff. Now, a couple other problems that I potentially see is things like Shield or the Apocalypse is a card that people, and then I can draw my entire deck.
100%. Awesome. Make it happen. Bring Shield.
Pay 7 life, draw 7 cards, I gain 14 life. Boom, I just keep going.
Love it. But it also punishes draws. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, exactly. That to me is fun. That's interesting, right? But again, on the casual side of things, I understand why people don't like this card. You know, because you can cheat it into play like that. And when you're not expecting that in a casual game, and then all of a sudden someone's like, oh, I'm going to just go ahead and draw 30-something cards out of my deck.
It's a game changer. Isn't Bolas the Citadel a game changer?
Absolutely. This would never not be a game changer.
Yeah, that's...
I think reasonable. On the CEDH side of things, I think it would make for fun deck choices and to try some Reanimator stuff. I think that's interesting. But I don't know. At the end of the day, I think it would be fun to see. I think it'd be fun to test, to see if Reanimator would actually become a viable deck that you would start to see, or whether or not anyone in CEDH would even play it.
Someone would try it for sure. There's got to be a couple good iterations of decks that are already here that would want to play it. Honestly, I'm not saying Glarb, but I'm also saying Glarb. You know, I'm like, I've seen people do some crazy stuff, and I love Sultai. I love big fat creatures that you just are able to play and beat face, and win the game realistically with that. So a sneak and show kind of effects would be amazing in CEDH for this. I would like it.
Yep.
And you're not even assured to win the game. I get drawing 21 cards, 28 cards.
We've all seen a terrible ad nauseum.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Hopefully you can win fast mana. I mean, it'd be fun. It'd be super fun to see. No, they need to do it. Just I don't know.
I kind of agree. So the article continues further.
Yeah.
Because they basically said for those 3 that they talked about potentially unbanning, they just want community feedback. Totally understandable. Perfect. Love it.
What we're doing right now? Community feedback? Crazy. Okay.
Give us Crystal Brand.
Why not? Reanimate.
Let us just try it out. If we decide we hate it, just reban it and nobody will care.
Ooh, a 3-month unban period. Let's go.
Right. Just give us a trial period.
We're just going to proxy it anyways.
Next up. So next up on the article, it's a very short mention, but it is a mention, and I want to read it specifically how it's stated, how Gavin stated.
Sure.
Finally, I would be remiss to not mention Jeweled Lotus anywhere in this article, because I know some of you will be wondering if we also discuss this card. We did, and we decided not to unban it. They specifically said we decided not to unban it here. So now he goes on to say that's not to say that an unban in the future is impossible, but it is staying banned at this time, and much of what I said last year still applies. So,
and what did he say last year about it?
Basically, he said last year that with the additions of fast mana and things like that, it just makes for unfair games. I don't know. For me personally, I very much think I'm okay with Mana Crypt and Dockside and Nadu being. I genuinely. I do think that Jeweled Lotus would bring an interesting change to the competitive side of things. You make it a game changer, so that way people aren't just playing it in every commander deck. And then all of a sudden, your high mana cost commanders become more viable.
Yep.
Now, that's not to say, crap, well, now Crom's going to come out faster, because of course he is. But okay. Sure. But it's a 1 of 99 card. You won't even see it every game anyway. So I don't know.
Yep. Make it Tali oppressive again. Let's go. It's been doing pretty good for itself in the meta, even though they said it was going to be a dead deck. Clone Wars is still always going to be a thing. No, my biggest problem with saying get rid of fast mana from CEDH, not that this is fast mana in my opinion, it just helps your commander get out a lot quicker and puts everyone on the same board to have those free counter spells. Kenrith, that kind of example, it's cool, now he can play more free spells. The biggest problem is that I want games to end maybe not sooner, but more definitively, right? And if you have Jeweled Lotus, then you can get out your commander and start getting your engine and ending the game. 3-hour games for finals shouldn't realistically be happening as consistent as I've seen it. Maybe it's not happening everywhere. Maybe it's just the metas that I've been at. But I would love for games to actually end with a winner. Winning all the way up to Swiss and getting there and being top seed and winning, that's a win. That is 100% a good, solid win. But I would like games to end. Personally, I would like to see an actual like crescendo where everyone's on the stack and everyone's battling, and I feel like Jewel Lotus might help with that. I could be horribly wrong. That's just my thought process. I could be horribly wrong. Either way, I don't want to slow down Commander. I want to speed it up so much so that stacks is required in the meta, even more so.
Yeah, like I said, I've made my opinions on Jewel Lotus pretty clear in the past, and I do it at the LGS as well. Like, I very much think that it could come off and just be a game changer because it's fast mana, which I completely understand being a game changer, and not being able to include it in like every single. It's just
You know what? One card that shuts that card down entirely is Drannith Magistrate. Okay, like you don't see that anywhere in the CDH meta because everyone's like, someone else needs to play that. I don't want to play it, but literally, you have answers to it. It makes it a dead draw until later. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and maybe one day we'll get it back. But the last thing that he touches on in this article, which were the big two potential bans, and that were Thassa's Oracle and Rhystic Study. And so for this whole little bit, I feel like I should just kind of read Gavin's as he said it.
Sure.
And we'll go from
Said it.
He says, in one of our last articles, we talked about watching Thassa's Oracle and Rhystic Study and encouraged you to send in your feedback on these cards. We haven't seen anything close enough to a volume indicating these cards should go. Thassa's Oracle seems mostly enjoyed by the competitive community, while not showing up much outside of the highest power levels.
Correct.
The case seems mostly closed on that one, though things could change. Rhystic Study is, of course, very powerful and a nuisance for many, especially in competitive Commander.
Yep.
But also a card many people love. We would have to see some pretty serious signs and public opinions change before touching that. The bar to ban a card in Commander is quite high, and I wouldn't expect any action to be taken if things remain on the current trajectory. With that said, we'll continue watching Rhystic Study, and we welcome your...
So they don't want to take away the lottery ticket, because that's really what Rhystic is. When you get a Rhystic and you're able to put it down nice and early, it is a lottery ticket to the win. Not that it's going to give you there, but man, it just... scratch it off and see what happens. It has that I feel good. When I have a Rhystic and no one else does, I feel amazing. When I have 2 Rhystics and no one else does, when I have 3 Rhystics and everyone else has 1 Rhystic, it slows down the game so much. Okay, hold on. Cool. That goes in the stack. Okay, app nap. Okay, everyone put down your stuff. Okay. Okay, you draw. No. Hold on. You don't draw. You need to cast your spell that we talked about last. It's like, it's like I get it. You don't want to be in a spot where you have nothing to do and the game is just like, well, I don't have any cards. I guess you win. But sometimes that's the way it happens, opposed to a huge stack battle, which are fun. They're great fun. But at some point in time, I don't know. For me, I'd much rather just get on with my life. Okay, cool. You won the game. We didn't sit here with 30. Draw triggers on the stack.
Yeah, for sure. And I get where they're coming from. A lot of people do like Rhystic Study. They like their card draw. It makes total sense. I do get that. I personally think it's more of a nuisance than it is a helpful thing for the format. But on the flip side of that, when I think about banning Rhystic Study, well, then the fast decks come to, and it's like, okay, well, then there's kind of no draw engine that like keeps them at bay. So then they kind of just take off and start doing things. It's a slippery slope, and it's a hard thing to figure out.
Yeah.
Because, you get rid of Rhystic Study, but then, now you don't have the card draw to keep up with the fast deck, so the fast deck just kind of wins all willy-nilly with the Thassa's Oracle that it keeps. And it's always a really, really difficult discussion, because I feel like if you ban Rhystic Study, there are other cards you all of a sudden have to look at. You and I have had this discussion where it's like, if we were to ban Rhystic Study, it's like, okay, well then we need to ban, and this has actually been a topic in our Discord where we talk about banning partners. Like we think that things would be better if we just, in the competitive side of things, we think things would be better if we just banned partners. No more partners.
In the casual side of it too. What does the casual get out of partners? besides
They
fun.
get their fun like Boros thing with like Rograk and Arden. You know what
Sure,
I mean?
I've seen so many casual tables with that. No, what I see is I see a blue farm that comes
Yeah.
down and wipes the floor with them. It's like, okay, it's not even a good blue farm. It's just a blue farm. So I don't know. Eh,
Yeah, well, and then it also just becomes a slippery slope, right? Because say you ban Ristic Study, you ban partners, and then all of a sudden, well, it's like, okay, well, then Kinnan never really needed Ristic Study, right? It can cheat in all these draw engines, and so then you're like, well, we got to ban Kinnan, and then everyone goes, well, then Sisay is the most powerful thing, and you have to go, okay, well, then maybe we ban Sisay, and
there's so many
it's just
answers
not.
to say. There's so many answers to this
There
thing.
are, and I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those slippery slope kind of things that you go down. So I don't necessarily hate that they didn't shake things up a little bit more with this ban and unban. I do hope that at the end of the year or near the end of the year sometime, if they do another Commander ban and unban, they give us like a little bit more exciting news, I should say. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm excited when things are unbanned. I am. Like, do I think that the Biorhythm and Lutri are the best cards? Absolutely not. But is it fun that they got unbanned? Sure. Now everyone gets to play with them, kinda, because Biorhythm's $50, so casual players
30. It's 30. It came down $20 since this morning,
Oh
apparently.
yes.
Okay.
My bad.
Okay. You guys can play with
Uh,
it, maybe.
But I'm curious more as to like what our community thinks about this whole thing. Whether or not they think Biorhythm will see play, whether Lutri will see play. Let Wizards and the commander panel know if you want Sundering Titan off the ban list or Gristlebrand off the ban list. Because things that I have noticed in the article, like, will literally say, we just didn't get enough feedback for this. And so
Where are we supposed to send feedback? Reddit?
um,
God, no. God, no.
well, no, well,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
different.
I know. Don't attack me. I don't do it.
But I think in the grand scheme of things, making videos like this, they help with that. They help with that engagement and to show that we kind of want our Jeweled Lotus back because it's like the only format we can play it in, and it makes high mana cost manas
It's
commanders more valuable.
so good. It's so
But like,
good.
but keep Mana Crypt off. I'm fine with that.
Sure.
That's totally cool. But I'm curious to what the community thinks about all this in general. Like I said, I'm happy that they unbanned cards and didn't ban a bunch of cards. I would have liked to see more that was a little bit more exciting, a little bit more fun, shake the format up.
A shake up it. A ban or an unban to shake it up would have been nice.
Yeah, because if they decided to just ban bosses out of everything,
Okay.
like, it shakes it up a little bit, right? Right? The top decks aren't really as great anymore, right? Blue Farm pretty much specifically wins with Thassa's Oracle. Well, but outside of Break Freeze as well. But it does take away one of their good win cons, right?
Quick,
So
easy
that
win
would have
cons.
shaken
Yeah.
things up. Banning Ristic Study, the mid-range stuff would have stopped, and you probably would have seen a ton more turbo. But then, does that make for a good, meta game? I don't think so, personally, when it says everyone's just playing, well, who can win the fastest at that point. But then again, CDH kind of started that way, so it's hard to say. But I don't know. I think you should let us know what you guys think personally. I'm curious how everyone feels about all these bans. I've only talked to a few people about them, but let us know. Comment, talk in the Discord about it, because we'd love to hear your feedback, and maybe we can find a way to send our community feedback to these guys and be like, hey, this is what our small community thinks is
Yep.
we should do.
The state of Utah believes that this. Shout out to the Salt City Discord. I was in there earlier today, and they were talking about it, and it was really cool to see that they had a bunch of people online ready to rock and roll as soon as it dropped. They were okay, and it wasn't anything, but it was really cool to really see the community come together on a work day and just say, okay, we're gonna sit here and wait until it drops and then discuss it, and maybe we can come up with some decks and whatnot. And okay, well,
well,
it.
maybe not, but
next time, get your guys together, get ready to brew. Hopefully something changes next time. I'm hoping there's something before the summer. It's really what I really, really hope. Summer is a great time to be playing CEDH, getting out there, hanging out with friends. It can be busy for travel, but man, the sun's up quite a bit for us here in the northwestish area. So I don't know. I want to see a shakeup. I want to see people that haven't been around for a while come out because it said, hey, did you hear that one card got unbanned? Yeah, dude, I got to check out this new deck. That drives people wanting to come out and play CDH. Hey, this card was banned. Thank God. I quit the format. I couldn't play anymore because I couldn't handle one more day of X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? I just want people to play. I want more people to play is what it comes down to. And have some really good games. So whatever helps that out, even if it's not what I want necessarily, whatever helps progress our format, that's ultimately what would be beneficial in the long term. So yeah. I mean, it's been almost 60 days since our last podcast. We're gonna be signing off, and let us know what you guys want us to talk about next. We're gonna try to up our frequency a little bit more here. But I'm Chris. This is my co-host Nate, and we're gonna see you guys next week, the week after, soon enough. Bye.
Have a good one, guys.